Hey guys, so welcome to my podcast, StephSellsHomes. Today we're going to talk all things ADU with my cousin, Olivia Miramontes.
Hi.
And big shout out to her. She's been killing it in the real estate game. And we had a conversation over the phone and we said, you know what, we should have recorded. It should have been a podcast, but it didn't. And so we just thought that it'd be nice for us to gather up again and have the same conversation that we had over the phone, because I think it can resonate with a lot of you guys.
It'd be super beneficial to
a lot of people who are wanting to get into the ADU space. So I'll have Olivia introduce herself and then we'll get right to it.
Okay, so I'm Olivia Miramontes. I am a realtor, and if you know anybody looking to buy or sell, let me know.
Boom, there you go. And yeah, Olivia's been killing it. When she called me, we were talking about, well, you tell the story. You called me and you were like.
So how it originally happened was I had a client asking me questions, and I'm the type of person who I hate having unanswered questions. I need the answers, and I need to get the answers from someone who knows what they're talking about. So naturally I call Stephanie, and he was asking me about ADUs, what does it look like, the process, what do I need? And, these are things that I should be able to answer. So I call Stephanie, and what I thought was going to be a 10-minute conversation, 2 questions at most, turned into over an hour of just schooling, dropping knowledge, dropping nuggets. I was just in awe.
I loved it too. I was like, come at it, and she was asking question after question after question. And she has notes that she brought today too, which I think is going to be very helpful, because the conversation was just fire, and it was very authentic and it was very genuine. And she has a lot of common questions that a lot of buyers have. I know the reason how I got started in the ADU space was because I was showing a lot of properties and a lot of people were asking about ADUs. What can I do with this garage? What can I do with the backyard? What can I do with this lot size? And same like Olivia, I just felt like, okay, there's a lack of education here, because I don't understand the process myself. And ADUs just came into play like in 2017, but really took off in 2020 because laws made it that much more user-friendly, right?
Accessible
for homeowners, right? So I was like, okay, let me position myself in a way where I can bring value to other realtors, not only investors and homeowners and sellers, because I think the ADU play is good for anybody. But I understand that there's a lack of education in that field within the real estate community. So I feel like we should just help each other out. And when she called me, I was like, okay, cool. Like, I felt special that she even called me, to ask all the questions. But that just also went to show that a lot of the work and self-knowledge that I've had, just self-taught and surrounding myself with people within the industry, has brought a lot of awareness in the lack of knowledge that we have within the industry. So we're gonna dive deep into some questions that most buyers have. So like, Olivia, what would be a question that most buyers have when it comes to ADUs?
I feel like, I feel most buyers think that they need a garage in the back of the house, not connected, so that they can do an ADU or some type of room or some type of, workspace, whatever it is that they're going to be using this additional unit for. So, and that was one thing that blew my mind when I talked to Stephanie. She was like, oh, it's way better to just build from scratch. I was like, what do you mean build from scratch? Not the garage?
Yeah, and that's a big misconception that a lot of people have. So for those of you guys who have a garage, you've got to tell your clients that it's an assumption and a very big misconception, thinking that it's cheaper to convert a garage because it's already there, right? It's already built, you can see it. And you think all you need is plans and permits. But no, you still need to go through the process. You need to go through the motion. You got to make sure that, there's 12 inches of footing before you build on top. Otherwise, you've got to cut around the concrete. And that is more of an expense than building from ground up. And that's what I meant by, people just assume that, oh, I'm converting an existing space, it should be cheaper, but it really isn't. In some cases, it's easier to just build ground up, because then you're laying out a foundation that is being done the way it's supposed to, right? So,
and that was one thing that I'm guilty of. I thought it should be easier or less expensive, but then after Stephanie pointed it out, I was like, wait, you're right, it would need to be lifted. Wait, that does cost money. Why didn't I think of that? And it's just, it goes to show you, it's the lack of knowledge or education that's out there.
And some contractors also may want to charge you more because they'll say they have to cut around there. So before you bring a contractor, when the city inspector comes to your house, they can check, or you can check, if you excavate the corners of the garages and you see 12 inches or 24 inches of footing and it's in good condition, right? Then you may not have to cut and actually raise the foundation.
But that's not something you're gonna know until you get a contractor out there.
Yeah. And then we'll talk about that too, is like, what are the benefits of working with contractors that you vetted? How do you avoid having thousands and thousands of dollars that you can possibly lose, right? When dealing with the wrong types of contractors, which was another reason why I said I need to get involved in the ADU space, because there's also a lack of good contractors. You can't find good people that are actually going to do their work.
A lot of people are scared to even contact anybody because it's like, how much am I risking at this point?
Yeah, or even just to have a free consultation. Like yesterday, I talked to 6 people that wanted to build ADUs or convert existing space.
It's the best thing.
And it's crazy because everybody's talking about it. And that's why we decided to do the podcast, because I believe strongly that it's just the big thing right now, and it's going to be for the next 2-3 years until 2025, give or take. So we're talking about it because I see in other markets, it's not a popular thing, but here in Cali, it's everything.
And I feel like ADU is just, now it's commonly used. Like a year, 2 years ago, when would you ever hear, your average buyer saying, I want an ADU?
Right.
You'd be like, who taught you that? Who told you that? And now it's just like, they're coming to you saying, I want an ADU in my house.
Yeah.
Well, dang, okay.
And really, it's just a new term because we've all been doing it. Like I say, us as Latinos, we've been doing ADUs without permits for a long time.
I mean, I can say my grandpa's house,
my dad
studio, has a bathroom, and everything.
My dad's house is, 2 bedrooms, but then he kept adding every time he had more kids without permits. So
I was gonna say, you mean your dad's 6-bedroom house?
Yeah, it was a 2-bedroom. It was a 2. Now it's like a 5-3. It's a mansion.
Love that for him.
Yeah, but people don't know what they don't know. So we need to educate them. We need to make it the process much smoother for them. And then also for us, just the lack of knowledge, like I said, and nobody's going to sit here and tell you this information. But again, I appreciate it when she reached out. So that was a big misconception, garage conversions. What were some of the other things we talked about?
Just cost, what it looks like, point A to point B. I mean, I think I just had a million questions.
And then afterwards, how'd you feel? Like after the conversation, I know you were just like,
I was just in awe because I mean, one, I love this industry. I love what we do. So just to learn new things and, ways to bring value to my clients, it makes me feel good.
100%. Yeah.
Not everybody's out there looking for that information for them.
Right.
And, and then not a lot of people know where to go and get that information.
Yep.
So.
And yeah, I tell my clients, like, I'm just a connector. I'm a social connector. So I don't need to know everything. We don't need to know everything as realtors, but we should know at least the fundamentals. And we should vet the people that we're working with and we're referring people to. So that's where I said, okay, let me connect with people. And I've made connections, developed relationships with contractors, with homeowners, buyers, investors. I mean, the ADU play, they used to call them rumpus rooms, casitas, granny flats, everything, right? But now the common thing, right? And now it's just considered ADU, right? So ADU is an accessory dwelling unit. You can have up to 2 in most cases here in Cali, in LA County, I mean. But what a lot of people don't know is that it actually will have its own address. It's its own, with its own separate entrance.
That was one thing I was like,
with its own utilities, right? You can separate everything. It can operate as its own independent unit. You can, get rental income from that. Or if you want to downsize, you can live there and rent out the front unit. You're essentially turning a single family into a duplex, right? I always give the example of one of my clients whose house was a 3-bed, 2-bath. And her garage was 750 square feet because I had an additional storage space. So what she's going to do is the garage is going to be a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 750 square feet. The front house is now going to be the junior ADU. So a junior ADU is anything under 500 square feet. The master bedroom and bathroom will be a junior ADU, and then the front unit will be a 2-1. So she's turning that SFR, that single family home, into a triplex.
Good for
Because
her.
it'll be a 2-1, a 1-1, and a 2-2-1.
And all legal.
And all legal. And you're obviously doing forced appreciation on your property because you're creating that that appreciation by doing it the right way. So when people say, do I need to get plans and permits? I would say yes, 100%. Because if you don't, you're like kind of shooting yourself in the foot because it's not going to come into play. It's not going to come into value.
I was going to say, you're putting money into something that you're not going to see it at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's why I had my friend Sydney. I don't know if you saw the live I did with him with the appraiser, because I wanted to hear his feedback on how they're calculating ADUs. And he was telling me that in San Diego, and he does appraisals here in LA, in some cases the ADUs are more attractive than a duplex.
Oh,
and
really?
they'll take it into account. And
is it because it's not connected, or why?
Yeah, it can be a lot of different reasons why, but I was just like, wow. It's the ADUs are like the sexy thing right now. Everybody wants one or two, Yeah, for real. I want a couple actually. And that's the goal, is that as we're educating clients, we're also educating ourselves. We're also bringing awareness to us as realtors, because if we go through it, then we are able to share that process with our clients, right? So that was pretty dope, pretty fire.
Dang, I'm sorry I missed it. Do you have it recorded?
Yeah, it's on my Instagram. Yeah, I put it on there because a lot of people were asking. They're like, hey, so, and everybody, when you're showing buyers, do they ask that? Like, okay, if I add the ADU, is my property going to go up in value?
I feel like that's not something I even have to tell them. They just, especially the people who are already familiar with the term and already know what it is, they know it's going to add value, or not even that. It's just like, it's going to help me pay my mortgage.
Yeah.
They see it as cash flow already.
Right.
So
100%. And I was gonna say, what was the other thing? Oh, the financial part too.
Yes, I think that's a big thing. I feel like another, big thing is people are scared of the cost. They don't know what it costs. They don't know, that they're under this impression that they have to come out of pocket, hundreds of thousands of dollars for this, because they're doing it the right way with plans, with permits and all that.
That's also true. That's a big misconception, because people think that because they're going to go through with it legally or the right way, that they're going to spend more money out of pocket, but it's going to benefit you in the long run. The investment is worth it 100%. When it comes to pricing, you can go as high as you want. It really depends on your budget. And I don't like to use the word budget, because I feel like with ADUs, you can get very creative and not even have such a low budget and still cash flow. But one way to do it would be to, I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? What were we talking about?
The price.
Oh, yes. Cost. So price, cost. So you can go as low as 180 per square foot on the low end. And on the high end, you're looking at between $300 to $350 per square foot. But again, it just depends on who you're going to work with, what type of project you're going to do, what high end finishes are you going to go with, right?
So they're calculating all of that.
Everything.
The cabinets you use, the tile, the whatever it is, that's being calculated up front. That's not something you're going to find out later.
No, everything that when we go out and do the estimates in person, when I bring a contractor and we give the estimate, it's for the entire project, including plans and permits. So if we quote 150, 200, it's including everything. And that's already like turnkey ready, move-in ready. That's the price. So it can go very high, but on the low end, you're looking to spend probably between 100 to 350,000 on the high end for an ADU.
Okay. One thing I do want to highlight that you brought up in our initial conversation was this includes the new address. This includes the water, gas, whatever it is that you have to add to have a living space. That cost that you're quoting, your clients upfront, that includes all of it. It's from point A to point Z, all the way to the end.
And your payments are going to be spaced out during the inspections, because you're gonna have between 4 to 8 inspections. It just depends on, it's case by case, depending on how many times the city inspector has to come out, check electrical,
and you're
check
paying
plumbing.
The city inspector every time they come out.
Right, you're gonna be paying out a portion every time they come out. So if it's let's say 100,000, let's go with the $100,000 ADU, then you're gonna pay a percentage for that. It's kind of like a down payment to start the process, get the plans ready, get the permits, the architect, all that. And then you're gonna pay after every inspection phase.
Got
You
it.
know, so it's spread out. So it's not like you're paying the full
So your
100
down
upfront.
payment is spread out through the process before you move in.
Right. And I
Okay.
know that the financing world hasn't quite caught up yet to ADUs because ADUs are so new. So I've noticed that a lot of contractors here in LA are doing financing as well. So they're financing the project and just trying to see how they can facilitate the process for the sellers, because they're here in LA, you have a lot of people, there's a lack of inventory, and you've got a lot of sellers that are sitting on equity. I mean,
Yeah.
anybody who bought a house even a year ago is sitting on 100,000
Anybody
minimum.
who bought before COVID, you know, is living like
a
a
baller
king right now. Yeah.
Is a baller. So exactly, like the money's there, but they're trying to figure out, do I do a cash out refi? Do I do a renovation loan? Do I do a construction loan? Do I do a HELOC? I mean, and we haven't figured out what's the best loan product for an ADU situation. Okay. So, but we will. I think that even contract, it is. It is because some people have the money for it up front and some people don't want to use their money. They want to finance it, and that's totally fine too. The options are there, but you're not going to know unless you consult with somebody. So you want to talk to somebody like me, somebody like Olivia, and we can connect you with the right contractors, you know, and that goes for LA County, Riverside County, San Diego County, San Bernardino County.
And I know Palm Springs is included in Riverside County,
Springs.
but we have to say that Palm Springs.
Palm Springs.
You know people, you vetted people in Palm Springs. Like that's a huge thing.
So I used to manage, me and two other girls, we used to manage over 200 properties in Palm Springs and did HOA, like it was a mix of HOA management, real estate, and property management.
So you know how to multitask.
Yeah, that was a crazy job, dude. Like I was literally the middleman between the home warranty, the homeowner, the tenant, and you know, the vendors.
Yeah,
you know, taking care of the work orders and stuff. So I know the Coachella Valley. It's just literally Highway 111 all the way down from Coachella to Palm Springs to Desert Hot Springs. Desert Hot Springs is also popular in ADUs.
Really?
And take it from there. But obviously the financial world hasn't caught up to the whole ADU game yet, because a lot of people are just sitting on shit tons of equity here in LA. Living like kings.
Yeah. People who bought before COVID, you're sitting on so much money and you could be using it to your benefit.
And they're trying to figure out, should I do a renovation loan? Should I do a construction loan? Should I do a cash out refi? Should I do a HELOC? But there isn't anything tailored to an ADU loan product. And so I think once lenders get up to speed with that, then we'll see a lot of ADUs happening next year. I noticed a lot of contractors are now doing their own type of financing, which is good because they're covering the project. But 9 times out of 10, it just helps to, even as a buyer, to help them bring awareness. So I was using the example of, let's say you find a buyer who's pre-approved, everybody's pre-approved for 600, 700.
And looking for that 2-1 in West Long Beach and Wrigley and Carson.
Everybody's looking for the same thing. But one way that we can help our clients is by helping them look at the property from a different set of lens. So don't look at it in its condition right now. Let's talk once the ADU has been built. So if you're telling me that your budget is $3,200 a month, then let's look at converting that garage and renting it out for $1,800 or $2,000. Now you can pay, you know, something that's within your budget. You'll only be paying $1,200.
And now once I say that,
right? Once I say that, they were like, "Oh, well, let's go." If they're pre-approved for 600, they're like, "Shit, let's go up to 650."
Sign me up for that $1 million house. I'll take it.
They'll do it 9 times out of 10 because the numbers make sense, because they know that they will, at the end of the day, although they're going to come up in price, the ultimate prize is to get the house, because then from there you're going to build.
And rent only increases. Like it's not like your mortgage, where if you sign up for that, that's what it is for 30 years unless you refinance, right? If it changes, it's because you decided.
Right.
Where when you're renting, when has anybody ever said, "Oh, my rent decreased"? My landlord came to me and said, "You don't have to pay this much. You can pay $200 less." That never happened.
And that's a good point, because rents have never gone down.
Never.
In the last, I don't know how many years, 15, 20 years, they just keep going up, up, and up, and up, which is why it will continue to make sense to do the ADU play 100%. So, yeah, we've been talking about a lot of good stuff. And What else do we have in your notes?
Well, one thing I wanted to
Or
point
one-
out too is so renting it, ADUs for Airbnb.
Yes.
What do you think?
So you can definitely do that. I know that places like Berkeley now allows for short-term rentals. A lot of ADUs don't allow, I mean, a lot of loan products, because you have to be primary residence, and that's one of the requirements in some cases. That's why you want to check with your county and your municipality to see what restrictions they have as far as short-term rentals. I know that a lot of people do take that route as well, and it will be a popular one. So eventually you're going to see a lot of STRs, a lot of short-term rentals. But even in the long term, right? If you find LA City is now offering a rent amount, it's kind of like Section 8, but for ADUs. So if you have a permitted ADU, you can sign up with them. They'll help you with the tenant. They'll screen the tenant for you. And they have on their website, I posted on my Instagram, they have on their website the different tiers. So I think for a studio, they're paying like $1,300. For a 2-bedroom, they're paying like $1,800. And then I think the highest I saw was $2,300, $2,500.
Okay.
So, and that's
guaranteed money.
That's guaranteed money. So, you know, during COVID, even a lot of people and landlords that weren't getting their rent, I think the people who won or were in a good space was the people that get Section 8, because Section 8 never stopped paying. So there's just so many creative ways to make money as well within the ADU space. And while you're collecting the rent, while you're, you know, getting it, the permits and just doing everything the way you're supposed to, you're force appreciating the property.
And let's not even equity.
And let's not even talk about the equity that's being built during that 6-month process. Because then let's talk timeframes, right? How long does it take for an ADU to be built? Per plans and permits, you're looking at between 3 to 5 months, and then about 90 to 120 days for the project. So all in all, you're looking at 6 months.
And that's worst case scenario, or is that pretty common?
That's a pretty common one. It can take longer. I don't think that you can do it less than that right now with all the holidays and stuff coming up.
What causes it to be a longer process?
Holidays, the city that you're working with, like LA City has a shorter time frame than LA County. LA City doesn't have the building and safety department separate from planning. So it's like all in one. So I didn't even know this until I met with the client. I was like, oh shit, okay, cool. We can facilitate the process and speed it up. In some areas, you can get your plans and permits sooner, right? They have like 40 something, 50 something pre-planned ADUs. So they have them on the website, the LA website.
So you're just going scrolling,
and you can choose which plan works for you. And if it's able to be designed in the conversion space that you're converting, then you can do that and then avoid that fee, right?
Well, I think that's another important part too that I want to touch on is, if you're looking to build an ADU, what's your ideal lot size that when I'm taking my buyers out, I'm like, hey, look, we're at X amount. This is perfect for an ADU.
I would say, for me personally, when I kind of skim through the MLS and I'm trying to look at properties that would be a good fit for my clients, is anything above 4,500 square feet lot size.
And I was thinking like 48, so
yeah, anything about, and honestly 5,000 is a sweet spot at 5,000 and more. But the single family home, I would say if the lot size is 4,500, the single family home shouldn't be bigger than 1,100, 1,200 square feet. Because then that gives me an idea that you have space back there to build. Now, you can build in most cities here in LA up to 1,200 square feet. I think that it just depends on, again, your budget. What do you want to spend on? What do you want to do? Do you want to do a 1-1, a 2-1, a 3-1?
What's the different cost? What's the difference between a 1-1 versus a 2-1 versus a 3-1?
So it depends on the price per square foot, right? So on the price per square foot, we can go as low as 180. Or you can spend as much as 350. So it's really hard to say like how much you would spend per room. It would go based off of square footage. So yeah, I mean, it's just a great play, whichever way you look at it. Like I even with sellers, you know, one thing that you can pitch to your sellers and that I also bring awareness with, it's not even about pitching, it's about bringing awareness. Like, hey, have you thought about doing this, and educating them? Right. I've gone to listing appointments and they had something in mind, and I'll just bring up the ADU situation and I say, hey, we can sell it at this price. Or if we get plans and permits, we can sell it at this price. Or you can do the whole project and maybe not even sell it. And they're like, what? You, a realtor, telling me I don't need to sell it? Like, because they're thinking in their mind that I'm gonna go for the sale.
Yeah.
But no, it's just about educating. Like, you can go all three options. And if they're in a, it all depends on their motivation. But if
Right.
they want to make the move and they only want to spend, let's say, $10,000 on plans and permits, but they can sell their house for 40, 50,000 higher, it makes sense to make that investment.
Yeah.
And
So
then
you're spending 10 to get 30 back.
yes, you're spending 10 to get 30 back. And not only that, but it's just more popular, right? For a buyer, you deal with buyers a lot. Buyers don't want to deal with plans and permits.
No, they get scared. As soon
they're
as
like,
you say, oh, you're gonna have to talk to the city, they're like, never mind.
never mind.
No,
So if we help
don't
them,
sign me up for that.
exactly. So if we help them facilitate the process and we say, hey, this house that you're gonna buy is already ADU proof. Plans and permits are ready. You just gotta build. You gotta find a good contractor that's gonna come and build, and then take it from there.
Looking to the house you live in now where you're building your ADU, I think it's important to note that when you're showing that you have steady income from your property, they're using that to qualify you.
Right.
And at that point too, if you're, leaving where you live currently, you'll be using that as rent too. Like, you're getting rent off of 2 properties off of 1 house that you bought.
Right.
Like, that's crazy to me.
100%. And people just don't see it that way. But that's why we're here to educate and bring the awareness. And that's why we wanted to talk about it on the podcast, is we can use this recording over and over. She can share it with her clients.
That's one thing I said. That's one thing I said. I was like, when we talked initially, I was just like, damn, I wish I could play this back, because it's just,
this wasn't as well, it was good. It was still fire.
Yes.
I still appreciate her coming out. But the phone conversation was legit, because I couldn't hear like just the stress and the frustration in her voice, that she wanted to get all the answers, but she wasn't sure how to get started. And then when I laid it out to her, she's like, okay, cool. She had all the confidence to go back to her clients now and say, this is what you do. This is how you do it. And like I said, she's already killing it. This is just like another cherry on top, that you can now bring that value to your client. And it's just being a good connector, connect them with good contractors, or you can send them my way and then we can walk them through the process. But at least now you have that, and that's just one way to stand out.
It's all in what you said too, is just knowing the right people, that, okay, you can say I vetted you. I know you're damn well qualified to tell my clients what to do. But, it's like, had we not had, say we weren't cousins, just with already the information that you're putting out there, like, this is information. I think it's important to note too, that what we know, we're going out there and looking for the answers. We're finding it out, and we're putting it on a platform for our clients, for our viewers, for, educational purposes. Like, this 100%. Isn't something like where you went and took a class and you're like, I'm gonna go tell everybody I know. Like, it takes time. It takes a lot of, just determination to find these answers for yourself.
And I'm still trying to figure out my space in the ADU space, because there is no role. There is no, oh, you're going to be an ADU advocate strategist. Like, there isn't a course for that. So I've had to just position myself in a way where I'm associated with like-minded people that are in the same business, same mindset. And I've developed those relationships with contractors. Now, if I have any questions on pricing, budget, materials, I just call them. They walk me through the process. If I don't know something, I will talk to them on the phone. And that's
I'd say you're similar to me in that sense of, you're gonna find those answers.
I call them. How much is it for this? How much is it for that? And just collectively, all the knowledge that I've gathered and how I feel so comfortable talking about ADUs, because a lot of realtors don't feel comfortable talking about it because they don't know enough. But the way to get the confidence is by knowing your shit.
And I think a lot of realtors too are like buyers, in the sense where I feel like a lot of buyers, or even sellers, just anybody looking to be, do anything in the real estate market, they're almost scared to ask questions. And I feel like a lot of realtors feel that way too. They're like almost intimidated.
Right.
Whereas me, I have 1,000,001 questions about everything, and I am not shy or embarrassed to ask them,
Same.
It's just, I know it's going to help me. It's going to benefit my clients. So, if I look like, damn, this girl doesn't know what she's talking about, I'm not going to be that for long. I'm going to go find someone, which I did in you, who's going to educate me to a sense where I can talk about it on my own
You
too.
became like an instant connector at that point. That's what I tell my clients. I'm just connecting people.
Yeah.
I'm literally connecting you with her, him with you, because I've vetted these people, or I've worked with them, or I've done my research for them. It's like I'm screening people
Mhm.
before they have to be screened
Yeah.
for my clients. And then I just hand them over, and I'm sure they'll be taken care of. And if I always give them options too. Like, don't just go with the first contractor. Get 3 different quotes, like I told Robert. Go and visit their sites, check out if there's social proof, check out their Instagram. That gives you a lot. That's why I love sharing the process, because then I'm just putting it out there and you take it or leave it. If it resonates with you, cool. If it doesn't, that's totally fine.
It probably will later.
It will at some point, but it's just putting it out there is part of my job. And I feel like that's where I come from, a place of value, because I'm just putting the content and the education out there. And whoever gravitates towards it and sees like, oh, I resonated with that, or that was a piece that I needed, then cool, my job was done.
I mean, even just you putting it out on social media is a big reason as to why I felt like I could call you.
Yeah.
I could ask you these questions because I knew you'd know the answers. So that's
people be calling me like, hey, Miss ADU queen.
Well, there you go.
Like,
I mean, are they lying? Are they lying? But it's just putting this information out there, and just you're just putting out there that I put in this work. I taught myself. I went and found these answers for you, so you don't have to.
Right.
And it's just, that's a lot of value that you're bringing.
Even amongst realtors, like you don't understand. Most people don't do this, and it's not because she's my cousin.
Yeah, it's
no, like I know that her work ethic is insane, just like mine. But most importantly is because we're realtor to realtor. Like most realtors don't. They come off very defensive.
Yeah.
Very like just my side. I stay on my lane and you stay on yours.
Like, I'm not ashamed to say that I don't have these answers, but I want them.
And collaboration is key. Like, that's my main thing for 2022 is who can I collaborate with? There's no competition here besides me with me yesterday, right? And that's it,
girl.
That's it. Like, I'm not competing with anybody. I'm not trying to be better than her or less than her. I am staying in my lane, but I also want to bring other realtors, because it sucks when you're the only one winning and not everybody else. And that's why there's a lack of skill set in our industry, because there's such a low barrier of entry that most people aren't trained the right way to.
I cannot stress that enough. That I'm just like,
how are you in business?
I get phone calls and I'm just like, hold up, did you just say that? Sir, that is illegal.
You can be arrested, sir. Did you just say this?
I'm calling the police.
Did you just say that? Wait,
just like, sorry, no, wrong number, bye. But no, seriously, like on a serious note, yes. So I'm glad that we can joke about it, but it is serious. Like, just the knowledge is not where you think you'd find it. Like, did you think you'd be finding all this, these nuggets and what you can bring into work just by having good relationships with contractors? Like,
no. Exactly. It's just a lot of it takes just growth mindset and understanding that we're never going to have all the answers. We don't want to be perfect. We don't want to be the know-it-alls. We just want to make sure who we know
exactly. Like, but I want to know if I don't have the answers, I want to know someone with the answers. And just, until I feel 100% confident, because the last thing that I'm going to do as an agent, as someone who cares for her clients, I'm not going to, let my, let's just say, ego sit in the way or get in the way of my clients getting a better deal. Like, at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. And if I know I'm not in a position to help them as well as you can, as Stephanie can, it doesn't hurt me to say, please take care of them, which I know you will.
In a way, she's also coming on top because she's showing her clients, hey, I got connections. I have people that will take care of you.
Yeah.
I will make sure that I just connect you with the right people. Again, going back to being a connector, that's really what we are. If you talk about like short-term rental, I have a client that I know I can refer business to, and that's all he does all day, and he's a pro at it.
Oh, I'm gonna need that number.
Yeah, and his name is Rafa. Shout out
to you. I'll be calling you. Don't worry.
He's killing it in the STR business. If I want to, for example, landscape, Robert. construction, I'm thinking Alfonso. If anything, right? I just want to be the social connector that I know I have somebody in that field that can help. And that's really how this all started and how the conversation started over the phone. I think that we both bring a lot of value to a lot of people, and we're just being proactive. We're just taking action and trying to put the word out there so that if it resonates with any of you guys go on and take action, because the ADU play is the 2022 play.
I agree. And I mean, like I said before, and like Stephanie was saying, if it doesn't pertain to you now, doesn't mean that it's not going to pertain to you in a year or two. Just anything real estate, you just want to stay on top of it. You want to know what's going on.
Right.
You want, I mean, some people say, send me the emails or the blast or whatever it is, because I want to keep up with the market. That's genius. You should be keeping up with the market, especially if you own a home or you plan to own a home. You want to know what's going on. Just the same as an ADU. If you want to maximize, your income, your equity, whatever it is on your property that you purchase, you want to know, you want to stay on top. You want to keep up with the game.
And speaking of a quick way, if you don't even want to get started right now, because it's just not in your vision board yet, right?
Shout out to my vision board.
Shout out to my vision board. I did mine. I
was gonna ask, did you make it? Yes. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I got my 2022 vision board ready. But if it's not on your vision board, you can still plan ahead. It doesn't hurt to just plan ahead. And one way to do it is, shout out to my friend Armando, who's a former city planner. He works for houseable.com now. So I sent you the link.
Yes, I was gonna say, I know what that is.
Yeah, and the first thing I did was I text myself the address and I generated a report for myself because I wanted to see what the emails look like. I wanted to see what the end user is looking at so that I can explain it to my client. Once again, nobody's going to teach you this. You got to take action and do it on your own.
Agreed.
So I texted Olivia and I said, hey, if any of your clients are interested and want to see what it is that they can or can't do, what restrictions they have, there's a houseable.com, which is a pretty good platform that will bring up and generate a report based on that property address that you give. And you just have to, submit your email and they send you a full generated report. And I always just double check or fact check with Armando if I have any questions on that. And that's just a good resource to have.
Yeah, so, I was gonna say, you know how, like, I can't even put a price tag on having a connection like that you can call, that you trust and is gonna say, hey, Stephanie, yeah, this is the answer. Like, that's
and most
amazing.
I met him at an open house 3 years ago.
Really?
And he's a homeowner too. So again, like the people that I'm connecting myself with, these aren't just people that I just saw and happened to bump
saw him at Starbucks. Hey,
yeah, no.
You know anything about ADUs?
Everybody that I associated myself with, thank God, has been people that I've literally worked with personally, so I know what their work
and that's the best.
And that's the best, because then if I can see their systems and processes, then I know, okay, they're legit. I can refer people to them because I operate the same way. I don't want my clients to have to go through and work with somebody who maybe I can avoid a bad experience.
Exactly.
Then guess what? It always comes back to
you.
Like,
well, why'd you connect me with them? They're terrible.
They're gonna call the realtor all the time, whether if things go south, they're going to call you 100%. So how can I just don't want that, right? I don't want that to be attached to my name. And so my job is to deliver value and good one too. So just helping them with the process. So to answer your question, I'm not a project manager or property manager. I'm more of just an advisor, advocate, strategist. So I do work with the contractors and we help, together collectively as a team. We help build a strategy for the highest and best use of that property and then come up with estimates and all that.
But you're also telling them, hey, like, you could probably get this a little cheaper, or you can do it this way, or this would be better for you.
Right, exactly. Because they don't know. See, people have ideas. I want to build an ADU. It's like when they want to get pre-approved. I want to get pre-approved. Then they come and sit with you and they explore their options. Now they're like, okay, I have options A, B, and C, right?
Yeah.
Now that I know I have these options, then I'm gonna go with B, and then we can get started whenever.
Well, going into that, so as soon as someone buys a house the next day, they could be trying to plot their ADU?
Yeah, or even beforehand, because like I said, on the seller side, we're pitching that too, and we're letting the sellers know, like, hey, you can sell the property with plans and permits beforehand, before you even deliver it to the buyer.
And so that cuts out how much time?
At least 30 days, 60 days, depending on how long it takes for you to get those permits. And like I said, in some places, it's taking 3 to 6 months to get permits. So, But if you get like some of the plans that are already, registered, it may take 30 days to issue, and you can expedite the process.
Dang. Sellers, get on it.
Yeah, sellers, and that's the thing. The play works for sellers because you can force appreciate the property and sell it, or maybe not sell it and just rent it out and then use that cash flow to buy the second property, and build your portfolio that way.
Yeah.
Or, for buyers, they see the value before buying the property because they see not the existing value, but the potential value.
And I think that's way bigger than
when you can help them vision that. I work with like companies like Multitasker, they're doing everything virtual reality. So you don't even need a contractor.
Do you know how badly I want to go and try on those goggles?
Every
time Stephanie posts it, I'm just like,
I'm gonna invite you next time when they have their next mixer, because I drive all the way to San Diego, but that company is dope. Like, they're eventually gonna branch out to LA. But everything they do is legit, and they want to work with realtors. They want, because guess who's on the front lines talking to homeowners?
Yeah, exactly. Every day I'm talking to people who own, who want to add to their property.
Right.
Every day. That's why that was one thing I commended Stephanie on too, was like, it's genius. You have these relationships with so many agents. How long have you been in real estate? Not even just as an agent, just working in real estate, period.
2011. 10 years.
10 years. Mm-hmm. How many agents have you met and built relationships with, and they know and love and trust you?
Yeah.
Where they're like, hey, you know what? I don't do ADUs. I'm kind of busy doing my own thing here, but I know for a fact Stephanie can take care of you.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I do get a lot of realtors that hit me up and they're like, hey, I have clients who want to build an ADU, but I don't even know where to get started. Can you help them? I'll help them, but I also want to teach.
That was one thing I was going to say, because so going back to that, where I was like, hey, you know what? My ego doesn't stop me from asking questions, was like, I don't have all the info that I'd like to have. So while I'm, working on getting this info, can you help them out? And she's like, 100%, but I'm also going to give you that info that you need. Yeah. Like, and I'm just like, you're going to what? Yeah. Basically. And my grandma would be
I give her the ponte las pilas spiel.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I feel like it's just value to provide to others too. Like, I'm coming from a place of like, no, I don't have it all figured out. You can also do this. And I encourage other realtors to get educated, to do it. And again, if they don't want to deal with it, then that's cool. By all means, send them my way, because I'm already doing it, on the daily. And I've shifted my business from, I used to work with Olivia. I was strictly working with buyers. Now I have my own little team going on with Maria and Rosie. And I'm teaching them also about ADUs. Like, I created a ADU webinar, and we're going to start doing it once a month. Damn. I'll let you know when we do that one too.
Yeah.
Because nobody's doing it.
Nobody.
And I'm like, okay, I was like, how do I even do the webinar presentation? And I was just coming up with content. Like,
YouTube University.
YouTubing, seriously. And I saw one of Thatch's emails. He was talking
about,
I
see him all over TikTok.
I learned so much. He sent it for free too. Like, it wasn't part of his coaching. I missed one of his ADU webinars, and he emailed me the link the next day, and I watched the entire 1 hour. And he talked about SB9s, he talked about ADUs, he talked about breakdowns, and he's showing you the deals that he's actually doing. And he's building 1,000 square foot ADUs. That's a whole ass house.
Yeah, it is.
People don't get that. And he talks about pricing and cost out there. So I learned a lot. It's out there. The info's out there. You just gotta know where.
Knowing where and just wanting to learn more.
Yes.
I think because a lot of people have this mindset of not, I know it all, but I know enough. And that's, I feel like that's never the case. You never know enough. You can always know more. You can always bring more value. You just have to be willing to learn.
And be comfortable with change, because ADUs are the thing right now. They might call them something else next year. And you have to be okay with that. You've got to stay innovative. You've got to be, up with the trends. And we talk about it too. Sometimes it's just a lot to stay up to date with everything.
I agree.
But collaborating brings that creative side of me. I think, when I choose to collaborate with other people, then it helps my growth mindset, because I'm constantly trying to change the content, the delivery, the value. I did an offer video and I was like, I'm tired of everybody posting offer accepted, offer accepted. And I was like, let me do a story. Let me record a quick video on how we got it accepted, why. Maybe somebody can connect. And if they see it possible, like, oh, this person reached out then and they got them in escrow, like maybe I can do that too. Same thing with the ADU. I'm going to start sharing more about our projects. It's just that the ones we have right now are in the beginning stages. But once we have them fully ready, we're going to start doing more ADU open houses frequently. And I want people to come and see them in different phases, right? If it's in the framing phase, come and check it out. If it's in the finish phase, if it's in the footing phase, I just want people to see it from start to finish.
What's your favorite?
Comfortable.
What's your favorite
framing?
phase? Really?
Yeah, for sure. I just enjoy it too. Like people are like, why'd you get into it? Well, aside from it being popular, I just enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
And you can
and that's the most important.
In the content and the delivery, I put a lot of thought into it. I put a lot of thought into it, us being here today. We're put time aside to get this done. But because I want to.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We're putting time aside. And I mean, I know you're busy. I know I'm busy. I know that, after this, we're going to have a ton of calls and texts to get back to, but I genuinely enjoy doing stuff like this, like learning more. I genuinely enjoy talking to other agents, even collaborating, like you said, but it's just, I don't know. I just find it really beautiful, for us to be able to talk and like say, hey, I have this going on.
What do you know going on?
Exactly. Or what do you think, or what would you do differently?
Right.
Like it's such I think an important thing to be able to do, because if you can't, there's no way you're going to grow.
100%.
And in this industry, I feel like the sky is the limit. Like there is no limit to how much you could do. You just have to be willing to grow and know the people. It
starts with investing in yourself, right? You've got to invest in yourself. Even as a homeowner, get yourself educated. Don't just rely on what I'm saying. Go fact check it, go and do your research, get comfortable with the terminology, with the process, and then come to somebody like us, right? And for realtors too, find other realtors that you can connect with too, that you can collaborate with, that got your back, that we're trying to help each other keep ourselves in the game. Because the way AI is going and prop tech, we're probably going to be phased out, pretty soon.
Shout out to Zillow for messing that up.
Yeah. Shout out to them, for real. Yeah, I think thanks to that, we got a couple more years left. So that's what we do the podcast. We want to tell you guys. That's the real reason.
No, but it's honestly, because that was one thing that I was like, damn, how much longer do I have? As a realtor.
I started thinking about that too. I feel like our industry is constantly changing and thinking of ways in AI. But one thing that AI cannot take, artificial intelligence hasn't caught up to emotional intelligence. So
definitely, like they're not. Your computer is not going to care about you how I care about you. Okay, that is the value I bring.
No, and AI isn't going to tell you what's the best use for your property when it comes to an ADU. We're not there yet, right? But and the emotional part of it, you still need that human interaction to some extent. So I think we won't be phased out pretty soon. But again, if we can just be a value and think outside the box, then that's just one extra way to do it, because we're not your average realtors. That's for damn sure.
I would
second that.
Yes. Second, third, fourth, fifth, all of it, because it's just, I mean, this industry is hard, and just exactly how I would 100% be against anyone doing any type of transaction without representation, real estate, like buying, selling, investing. You need someone representing you. I feel the exact same way about an ADU. You need someone on your team. That's a lot. The terminology is a lot. You don't hear it. There's lack of education. Like, we've said it a million times, but you need someone out there who's looking out for you.
Right. The process is very important, and making sure that whoever you're working with has systems and processes. And again, you don't need to know all the ins and outs, but it's like, how do we make it a user experience that's friendly and that's nice, and that is a good experience for the customer?
Agreed.
And the only way to do that is to team up with dope ass people that get shit done. Really.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that's no matter what industry you're in.
Right.
You need to be surrounded by people who are like-minded, but also willing to grow.
Yeah.
That
because
I
it
feel
is
like
a
that's super
tough
important.
business,
Yeah.
But your mindset is everything too. It's tough if you want it to be tough. It's tough if you look at it that way. Because we just have very strong conversations, difficult ones with our clients that not the average person has every day. So,
and a lot of questions too that we have, your average consumer, they're not even thinking about that. And that was one thing when I came to Stephanie with my one to two questions that I thought I had, but that turned into a million. It was just like, what would I want my client to know?
Right.
What do I want to tell them? Exactly. And that's one thing for sure. Not a lot of agents, I can say, do that.
No.
They're not willing to put themselves in your shoes. They're not willing to think what's best for them. A lot of people are like me. But in this industry, to strive to build those relationships, your client comes first. Your relationships come first.
You have to be empathetic 100%. Like if you don't have empathy and you can't put yourself in their shoes and think through their set of lenses and their perspective and take your glasses off for a minute and put on theirs, there's just no way.
Can you imagine, like, going back to why we even got into the industry, can you imagine someone who wasn't putting themselves in their shoes, or trying to maximize your options, or let you know what would be best for you, helping your family out?
Yep.
Can you imagine like that? It's stress. It can be stressful. It can get ugly, even like legally wise. It's just bad.
And even in ADUs, it's not cheap to do ADUs,
No.
right? You're not talking a couple $100s, you're talking thousands. And so for the average person, yes, it's scary. Yes, there are horror stories out there with fucking with bad contractors, and it's just bad. Like I've seen some pretty crazy stories.
Yeah, like a lot of contractors have a bad rep for that, because the last thing you want to do is, take your client who is putting everything on the line,
right?
To try to keep up with the trends, or have a little more money, or
they have the last savings.
Yes, exactly.
It's like, consult with me first.
Exactly. It's a big step.
Yeah, because what if you lose out on a couple thousand? Like, a couple hundred, a few square feet makes a big difference. So you want to make sure you have everything good, good scope of work. And again, it just goes back to connecting with the right people. You don't have to know it all. You just gotta reach out to somebody like us who will put you in connection with somebody who's gonna show you the way. But it's a great play, whichever way you look at it. And every time we run the numbers for my clients, 9 times out of 10.
I was gonna say, does it ever not make sense?
No, unless you can't do it, right? If it's in a fire zone, if it's in a coastal zone, if it's in historic zones, those are probably like some of the main common restrictions. But for the most part, they've made ADU law very friendly for the homeowners. So the opportunity is there. It's just a matter of taking action. But your first step would be to get that financial piece in line.
I was gonna say, did we even touch, what it looks like, financially? How much can you finance right now? Like, what's the trend, or what does your monthly payment look like? What do you call it? A mortgage? I know it's a loan, but
so it's a loan, and depending on what type of financing you use, and depending the rate, then you can calculate that monthly loan and for the term, right?
Okay.
So all those things play a part. But let's say I have a contractor who offers up to 100,000 in financing, and I think it's at 4.5%.
And does that cover a lot of it, would you say?
Well, 100,000 is not a lot. It depends, right? If you're gonna do a 1-bedroom, 1-bath garage, less than 500 square feet, maybe that'll be enough. But for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, or anything bigger than 500 square feet,
I was gonna say, let's say we're playing with 700 square feet, a 2-1.
Right. Like that 2-1 was going for 150. Right?
Okay, so that's 50,000 you would have to come out of pocket, and you're paying that as like a down payment.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, and they're financing you the
10% down payment. So if it's 100,000, it would be 10,000 down payment, and then the payments are spaced out. Remember, and after every inspection.
And then you pay so at the end you would pay the other 40, or what is it? Like if we're playing with, let's just say the ADU is going to cost 150.
Yes.
They're financing you 100,
and she's gonna put the 40 with her own money in that case.
But is that before or is that after?
It would be after.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be after, or she can pay it also spaced out
Mm.
after every phase 1, phase 2, phase 3.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you're doing a HELOC loan, that's what the bank, they might offer a lower rate, right? So then at that point, it might be less.
But that's also part of what you're helping your clients with is
Yes.
determine what financing would be best.
And what I tell them is go with your credit union, go with your local bank, go with your lender that helped you buy it, and see what they offer. But usually it's banks and credit unions that offer the HELOC loans. You can check Refi for renovation loans. That's also a popular one. And renovation loans will take into consideration the construction work and cost of that. So that's another option too. Doing cash out refi, same thing. You're cashing out on that equity and you're gonna finance it for a certain amount of time. But again, a lot of things come into play. It's terms, financing, interest rate, and then your budget, whatever it is that you're working with. But I know some people offer the entire financing portion, but the financing part is the strongest and the most important, because then once you know how much you're financing, then you know what to build, how to structure the ADU and just the project in general. Because now we know how much we're working with, right? If we're working with 150,000, now we know. And I'll tell clients, sometimes they come in with the idea. I went to go see one in LA and he's like, I want to do a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. I'm like, why? Why don't you just spend the other 50,000 for that other bedroom and do a 2-1? Because when you move out, you're gonna want to rent it out and you're gonna get more rental income for a 2-1 than a 1-1.
All day.
They want to cut corners sometimes, or they think that they're saving money on the front end. But again, it goes back to awareness and educating. Have you thought about looking at it from this angle? What if you do a 2-bedroom, 1-bath? Now you can rent it out for X amount. And then you can move to Lakewood in the area that you want to move into, and you rent out the front house and the back house.
And you're helping your clients with that too. You're telling them you can rent it out for X amount. You can rent this out for X amount.
So I stay updated. You can check Rent-A-Meter. You can check just the MLS for leases and figure out how much rentals are going for in that area. So I do try to stay proactive as to how much rentals are going for roughly in that neighborhood. And here in LA, rents are crazy. So, even a 2-bedroom, 1-bath can go for 2,500 square feet.
I feel like any 2-1, whether it's an apartment, whether it's a back house, whether it's wherever it's at, you're not paying less than $2,000. Like if you're paying less than $2,000, you've probably been there like 50 million years, because that's insane. And that's, going back to rent is only getting higher. If you're adding something in the back that you're renting out, you're just constantly building. You're never going to rent it for less.
That's why I said it always makes sense. So I hope that we brought a lot of value to you guys.
Yes.
Super excited that she came out today, and please check her out because she's like the real queen. Reels?
The reels?
Real? I don't really do a lot of reels, but I got to get on it. And I'll start doing it with the ADU. So we'll come up with more ideas, but we're definitely going to have a part 2 to this.
Really
and what I was thinking, I didn't tell Olivia, but
so there's a surprise.
The part 2 is I want to do it at the Torrance ADU.
Down.
And we'll do it inside.
Yes.
So that'll be the next one, guys. And that's it for today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well,
guys.
thanks for having me. Thanks for answering my 1,000,001 questions. And
always,
please, if you take anything away from this, let it be that check out Stephanie on Instagram if you have questions. Because if you have questions, she's gonna answer them for you. Like I'm
always listening. Like if you guys have questions, legit, just ask me and I'll put it on Instagram.
It's literally what brought us to today. I feel, because it's not that I didn't call you because you're my cousin. I didn't call you because I know you're in the industry. I called you because I know you know what you're talking about, because you're constantly putting that information out there.
And that's what I'm wanting to attract to. So I think that's the beauty to Instagram and social media, period, is that I want to work with like-minded people that are also just in alignment with what I want to do. They enjoy what they are doing. And that's why we're here today. So we hope that a lot of what we said resonated with you guys, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
So excited. Can't wait. Bye.
Peace out.